Hello, beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight is. Woo! I can't spin right now because I'm sitting, but I love making my little swirl sound. So anyway, I love you all, and I hope you're getting out in nature like Starlight is. And if you are, don't forget, if you got family or friends, inspire them to, hey, let's get out for the weekend. Let's get out, because, inspire other people to, hey, let's get out. If you got dad or mom or, your kids, especially the ones that are out there on the technology, it's very hard for, and that's why you got to start off right with your kids. You got to start them off right, because, it's challenging if you really didn't think about it, or really didn't think it was going to be a big deal, about kids getting so connected with cell phones and computers and watching movies all day long or whatever. Then later on you're like, look what I created. Yeah, look what you created. But yeah, that's why it's so important to start off in the beginning, with, come on. But of course you have to love being outside, and that would be really challenging if you don't even like the outside, to have children to love the outside. But it is kind of funny how I love the outside. My kids knew I was crazy about going outside, but was my kids going out hiking all the time? Nope. See, I didn't know a long time ago. See, I didn't know this. I tried to get my kids out in nature, especially my son. But anyway, so things can backwards, you might be a person that stays inside, and your kids might be always outside all the time. So anyway, I love you so much, and besides that, thank you to all of you who are here loving and supporting Starlight, and also thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel, giving me thumbs up, sharing my videos. Don't forget the notification bell. And those of you who watch my videos, you might not subscribe, you might not like my videos, even though you could like them, because I know people that make amazing content like Starlight, and I'm like, everybody should like that video, it's that good. But it doesn't work that way, and that's why you can't really pay attention to that kind of stuff out there about videos, about how many views and how many likes and how many this and how many in the thumbnails and the title and all that stuff, even though those things are, we think is important. But you know what? It depends on how this whole system is, the matrix is set up. Sorry about this. A lot of airplanes are out here. So, but thank you, even if you didn't subscribe, even if you don't like, put the like. It doesn't mean that people don't like my videos, and and thank you for those who leave a comment. And also, anyone that would love to send any love donations, you can through my Cash App, and I will have that information here. Ping! There it is. And now, today, before I start, hello, my name is Starlight. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and you can find me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, you could give my videos a thumbs up, and you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, don't forget the notification bell, and you can leave me a message down below, beep, 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 and you can share my videos with your family or friends. Plus, don't forget my playlist, and you can also find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman Starlight. Now, today, this is about men and women, having a hard time finding the one. What, have you ever been there? You're like, what the blank, what the blank, am I ever gonna find anyone in this world? Am I ever gonna find the one out here? What the heck? That was Starlight. That was Starlight. What the heck? You know, I'll tell you what, it can be freaking challenging. And do you think it's getting better? You know, with the technology and AI and all the distractions out here, and how are the kids going to get brought up with, you know, the generations here, how they're so distracted, getting caught up with TikTok, getting caught up with, you know, things that don't matter. You know, how do you think the parents are going to be these days bringing up kids? You know, when the technology, you know, and all the cell phones and computers and video games and AI stuff, you know, is, how do you think the parents are going to be, and how do you know, bringing up kids when they're like, you know, they go to a playground, and I see it everywhere, all over the place, you know, the kids are at the playground, you know, and what are the parents doing? You know, are they focused on what's going on at the playground? Because it's really important. It is so very important. Just because people are at a playground, it doesn't mean that something could happen to your kid. Matter of fact, I'm going to bring this up because I thought it was an awesome thing that these parents did. Is I met a lady, and she had 2 boys, different ages. They were little, you know, say one's like 4 years old and the other one's like 6 years old. They were wearing the same clothes, so it wasn't like they were twins. I was like, wow, I love what they're wearing. And so then the lady explained, she's like, yeah, what we do, it's the grandparents, you know, anytime we go out to a playground or go out to, you know, any kind of busy thing out in the public, you know, is that they wear the same clothes. That way they can keep track of their kids out in public, you know, so they're bright clothes, so they stand out, you know. They're not just the, you know, something that stands out, so that way they can spot their kids at the playground. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But I'm bringing up this whole thing with the way kids are, the way parents are these days. And I'm not saying all the parents are like that. There might be some wise ones out there that says, no, I'm not going to let my phone control me. No, I'm not going to be glued to my cell phone. And no, I'm going to be responsible, and I'm going to be focused on what's important. And I'm not going to be that parent that's always watching. You know, why have kids? You know, why have kids? You know, that's why it's so important is, you know, at playgrounds, not all the playgrounds, I go to parks all the time. I'm at a park right now, you know, so not all the playgrounds have them where they're fenced up, you know, where you got to kind of open up a door to get in and out, where the parents can kind of stay in with the kids, and, you know, the whole family can stay in, you know, at the playground area. Not all playgrounds are like that. So, and that's why, you know, there's parents that do all kinds of crazy stuff out in public, you know, like sending their kids to the bathroom by themselves, or, you know, sending their kids out to the car, you know, and being at the playground and thinking, you know, a lot of shit can happen, you know. And besides other things, is that I've seen parents talking to other parents while their kids are at the playground and not really focused on really what's going on with their kids. And you really do. You got to focus on the kids. So important. Anything, you know, because I've witnessed stuff and I made stories, but I'm not going to get caught up with that. But I'm just trying to say the way people are becoming these days, you know, the technology and the AI stuff out there, you know, where, you know, kids and adults are going to get, you know, more sucked into this kind of stuff. And everything is so different than when I was a kid. You know, they didn't have computers when I was a kid. I never did computer. Of course, I was only 16, you know. I didn't go back to school. But, so yeah, a lot is going on. A lot of distractions. A lot of this and that, you know, going on. And how are the kids getting brought up? How are these adults now? They're adults, you know, like, hang on, Starlight's gotta get some water here. Ooh, I gotta make sure. Sometimes it's lemon juice and it messes me up. I'll be like, it's lemon juice. That's a shocker. Sometimes I pour coffee in here and think it's water. I'm like, so holy cow. Like my taste buds are like, that's not freaking water, Starlight. So yeah, yeah, it is very hard. It was very, very hard for me way back, you know, when I knew I needed to take a break on dating, you know. So Starlight, and then that came to the whole point. It was like, I am done with dating. I just want to go out and make friends out on the internet, you know. So that's what Starlight was doing. I'm like, I'm not interested in, you know, having a relationship. Why not, Starlight? Because I needed to work on myself. I knew I was a mess. So I knew I needed a lot of freaking help. It's actually, I needed more help than I even realized, you know. So yes, it that is why a lot of people are having a hard time. Because guess what? Everybody needs a lot of work. Everybody, you know. And I was that girl, and I just talked to a guy not too long ago, and he was asking me a lot of good questions, and I had a great conversation with him at this other park. And it's one of the guys that I met that live in a car. And so anyway, with this particular guy is the topic of relationships came up, you know. So I was helping him out, you know, saying, hey, you know, why, you know, people are having a hard time finding that one. I'll tell you what, I blew his mind because it wasn't exactly what he thought, you know, I was going to tell him. And I might blow your mind and tell you the same thing, and you might be like, what, Starlight? You know, because, and as I listen to this man, and I am guilty of the same shit, you know, because I went on tons of dating apps. I even paid money for dating. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna pay money for this dating app. I think I did that once or twice. I know at least one dating app that I actually found, and because, you know what, I was serious. I was that serious. I would even pay for it, and that's what they say. If people that are really serious, they're the ones that are paying money. But now these days, I don't look at it that way anymore, because there's a lot of phony balonies out there, you know. I wouldn't even want to waste a fucking penny. Whoops, Starlight. I wouldn't want to waste a penny on those dating apps. A lot of robots on there, you know, fake people, a lot of head games, and all. It's not worth paying for. And these days it's even harder because most of them now, you can't do shit on those dating apps without paying some money, because they gave a lot away for free. And now, you know, the ones that I used to go on before, you can't do shit with them anymore, because you gotta pay money. I mean, and you really want to do, if you're thinking about doing that, to try to find somebody on a dating app, do the research, because free doesn't mean free. And I've done this many times on dating apps where, you know, they're like a free dating app. I'm like, oh, okay, it's free. They said it's free. And I'll tell you what, I've wasted so much time, you know. Starlight, you know, I had to do that when I was ready to do that, when I wasn't busy doing other stuff. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this dating app. I'm going to, you know, do my profile, get all, you know, all these dating apps they're all different. And, you know, some of the questions, you know, they're nosy as heck. Some of them are really, really bad as far as questions go. Like, what does this have to do, you know, with a dating app? You know, what does that, you know, I don't want to get that freaking, you know, that is something I want to leave behind, and not, you know, I don't need to answer that. Like, for example, I'm just going to, when you were born, like, you know, how many, you know, the family that you came from, like, were you first born or second, you know, like if there was 5 kids, you know, were you the first, second, or third kid? What does that have to freaking Why are they asking me that question? What does that have anything to do with me trying to connect with a guy as a friend, or, as, getting married kind of thing, or whatever? What does that have to do with the dating app? So you got to watch out, because a lot of those dating apps will say free. Absolutely free. Absolutely free. Yeah, absolutely free, that you can give them all your information and your pictures and your photos, and your email ad, So you really, I'll tell you what, create a different email address, number one, if you're going to do that way. But I really, please don't do that. But it is a joke, though, is that most of them say that they're free, and you do all this work, and then you're like, yeah, now I got everything set up. Bam! Then you find out what, they're like, you get all excited, and you're like, wow, I got everything down and everything all set up, and then they're like, hey, are you ready to send a message out there? Oh yeah, I'm ready to reach out and touch someone. I want to say hi. Hey, my name is Starlight. I'm out. I was always out, connecting with people. It didn't matter if they had a picture or not, because I don't go by outward appearance. But it is whacked out. Then this is how they trick you. It could be a robot, and you wouldn't even know it. And I might not even send any message to anybody, or I might have. But then this, it would be a profile of a good-looking guy. In the area that I selected, where I, my small little circle space in the whole planet Earth, this little tiny little dot, yeah, that's where he's gonna be. It's so funny, because send a profile of a man that's a good-looking man, the age and everything, the location that I want, and then, wow, I got a message from him. And so now I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. He's a good-looking guy. He's like from my area. I check out his profile. It's like, wow, we got a lot in common. I would like to get to know him. And now I went to see the message that he sent me. What? What do you guys? You gotta be kidding me! I gotta use my card to get the message. True story. But that is what you're up against when it comes to I don't know if there's really anything out there free these days, but really the reason why you're having a hard time finding anybody out there mainly is because you gotta work on yourself. I know it wasn't quite what you were expecting, right? I know, because the guy that I talked to like a while back is that when we started talking about, the question came up. I don't know how the topic came up. I don't remember the topic, how it came up, but it was about relationships. And so then I asked the guy, I said, why do you think people have a hard time finding the one out there? And so the whole time he was just bad-mouthing women. Women this, women that, women this, women that. And I was there too, doing the same thing a long time ago. It's them. Look at the stuff that I'm witnessing. Oh my, like I'm out here just looking for a friend. No sex. Starlight doesn't want to have sex. I know. We're not, because it went from wanting to go out with men to find, a man to get married to without, sex, being pure. And well, that didn't work out. And then it was step by step. Then there was a time that I was just, just a casual thing, whatever. And then it went to, okay, no, okay, I'm up for sex right now with no relationship kind of thing, just to release some stress, And then it went, no, nothing, I just want a friend, And then I had to even stop that. It just went, ew. And so the whole time as I was on dating apps, all kinds of dating apps at one time, but And you got to really watch out, because there's women and men out there. It's not just the women, guys. It's men doing it too. Men are doing this too. It's not women these days. You know what? It's not just women, and not all women are like this, because Starlight's not, you know, is that there is men out there trying to get the women's money on the dating apps. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll tell you what, it's not just the women that are out there trying to get, you know, money. Men have, you know, they're out there doing the same shit, but they do it a different, it's different the way they do it. So you do have to watch out on there, women and men, whoever is watching this. There's little tricksters out there, you know, blackmail, you know, you got to watch out. People will blackmail you, so take it from Starlight. Don't send any nude pictures. Don't, you know, be careful the kind of stuff that you put out there, because they could be, you know, collecting all that stuff. And then, because this has happened to Starlight, true story, where a man, yeah, I you know, like, I spent a lot of time just talking to this man. Never met him. He sent me a picture, but is that even him? I don't know. What's his name? Is that even his name? I don't know. How about his email? Is that even, you know, is that real? You know, is that just a fake, you know? So you do got to really watch out, because people will blackmail your ass, or they will say that something horrible happened and they're looking for you to help them out. So watch out for that stuff, men and women. So, but we all got to work on ourselves. That guy was blaming all the women. Oh yeah, women are this way. This is how all the women are. I was doing the same thing. Yeah, you know, they're not serious. You know, like, I was having a hard time wanting a man that would actually want to, you know, get married. Not right now. No, not now. I don't want to get married now. But, you know, in the future. You know, so I was actually learning not to, you know, they don't have always the right settings on all these dating apps, and they all have them all different. But I wanted to be friends first. But you know what? A lot of times that didn't go right, because there's a lot of, you know, women are like this, but it more than likely would be in a man department. But, you know, just a lot of players out there playing a game, you know? Lots of players out there. Women out there, you know, they're just looking to get, not all the time, you know, there's even prostitutes on these apps, you know, so you do have to be careful, you know, you might get suckered in on something, or, you know, so you got to watch out. And there's police officers and, you know, people that investigate these things. They're on there. They could actually be a guy or a girl, you know, just seeing, you know, who you are, what you're up to. So you got to watch out. A true story. That is so Starlight. So anyway, this is how it is. Women are saying, oh, it's all the men, it's all the men. And guys are like, oh no, it's all, we all need work. Guys need to get to work. But you know what? A lot of people, like Starlight was, but I tell you what, I've been working myself for years for that one. Years. So I have already done the work, and I'm still doing the work, you know. So, but the way this society is, it's everything is rush, 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 hurry, 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 you know. And just like a long time ago, people do things backwards, and they're too quick, you know. They don't even take enough time to get with to know these people, to test them out. Believe me, I've been tested. Woo! I've been tested so much, you know. Like the universe tests us out all the time. Well, that's how Starlight's been tested a lot, you know, to prove myself, you know, like, am I worthy enough? Yes, I am worthy enough to have unconditional love in my life. And it's a mindset. It is a mindset. It's working on yourself, not just for a month, not just, you know, for a short term. Hey, I worked on myself, Starlight. Now am I ready? No, go back to work. Go back to work. You know, because everybody needs help. Everybody needs help. So be careful. You know, like I told this guy a while back. I said, hey, I don't know what his story was. He was very open to talk and communicate, and I love when guys can open up and communicate. Anybody, it doesn't have to be a man, but I love when people open up, and I have a gift. People do. They open right up. Things that they normally never would tell anybody. I have a gift. People will spill the beans all over, make a big old mess, because I have that gift. But you got to be careful out there, because it's about doing the inner work, and it's about, there's a lot of healing that needs to, people have gone through trauma as a kid, so with this guy though is, I told him, I said, yeah, any relationship that you've been into, they are your teacher. Huh? They're your teacher. Surprise. What did they teach you? So it's kind of funny, because now that's when things get quiet. What did they teach me? So if that particular man was guilty of doing some bad shit, oh yeah, and I'm not saying he was, but that's sometimes we're being taught what not to do by somebody because we screwed up. There's people being unfaithful, and then they find out and they lose it. Hey, frick you, I'm out of here, gone. And what was the lesson? Well, I kind of already knew the lesson, but did you learn anything from that lesson? That's the key. Did you learn anything from that lesson? So, and sometimes in certain relationships it's hard to figure out what was the lesson. And Starlight mainly was, I needed to stop having men run over top of me, controlling me, tell me what to do all the time. And that goes for a lot of you men, right? A lot of you men are like, yeah, man, I know what that's like. I've been with this girl for freaking ever, and she wore the pants, man. She was always telling me what the fuck to do, and I just put up with it. I didn't want no beef with her. I didn't want to have any problems. I just wanted to I wanted to go to bed at night and sleep, and on that note, later on I wanted to have sex, and if I knew if I brought things up, we weren't going to have sex later on, because we would be arguing if I brought something up, because everything went her way. She always had a way of weaseling her way out. And it goes the same with men, where, and that's what you're having a hard time out there because you need to work on yourself. You need to get healed. There's things that you need to work on. A lot of times we want to point at other people saying it's them. They say when you're pointing your finger at other people, how many, I got 3 other fingers pointing at myself. So it's you got to work on yourself. And you know what? God will guide you to the right one, but you got to find out who you are. That's another reason. Who are you? That's what I told this man is, who are you? You don't even know who you are. I know who I am, Starlight. Well, a lot of people do think they know who they are. But, guess what? Most people are wearing a mask. So if you're wearing a mask, pretending to be someone you're not, just to please everybody, well, you don't really know who you are. And there's levels to the mask to take, I want to tell a story, but it's really naughty, Starlight, so I'm not going to tell that story because it is so funny. It's like, Starlight, you did that? It's a good laugh, but Starlight's going to keep that one private. But it is funny, is that there's layers to mask, like The Mask, the movie, Jim Carrey there, it's easy to put one on, and you know what? It starts out, you wouldn't believe this, we start wearing a mask when we're little kids. Because I listen to little kids. I love talking to little kids. I actually had some kids one time in a library. They were trying to, they tell stories, you know, because they go to school and they hear somebody's got this great story, and it could be a true story. So they got to create a bigger story, because I've been with kids enough to know that they create a bigger story. So it starts out when they're little. It really does. Little kids start wearing a mask, you know, faking it, you know, pretending to be something they're not. When they're around grandpa, now oh, they got this other mask on. You know, they learn to put a mask on at a very young age. It's so sad, you know that they, I don't know what age, but my grandson's 6 years old, and he was too young yet to know how to put it, you know, he's just going to school. But give him a while, you know, he'll learn, hey, I could be this way around this relative, and be this way with my mom, be this way with my dad, be this way with, you know, my friends, and, you know, so it's, people don't know who they are. How are they going to find the one? That's why it's so important to work on yourself. So anyway, those are two big ones, really, because a lot of it, the rest of them, you know, like when you figure out who you are and you work on yourself, you know, you can find the one that you're really meant to be with, and not just a one that's going to last a year, you know, but you got to be patient, and you got to do the inner work, and it takes a long time. How long you been working on this, Starlight? Well, it's been a long time, you know. So anyway, I love you so much. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace. Thank you for watching. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace.